Hi, good to have you again today. I hope you've been having fun and you've rested very well this morning. My name is Festus Rewele, and I'm handling the CEO Masterclass this morning with a very exciting topic. Is it okay to borrow? Is it okay to borrow? Now, I know I have talked about borrowing and starting businesses before now, but something came up in the course of a meeting I had with some of my clients, and that was, is it okay to borrow even when you have some money? Is it okay to borrow at any time of your business transition or processes or things happening in your business? There are so many things that were discussed, and I just felt, well, I needed to send this across to as many people who have the opportunity to listen to this video. Is it okay to borrow? The answer is neither yes or no. Yes, it's okay to borrow. Yes, it's okay not to borrow. But the real reason why you must be able to make this decision is that you have the knowledge of what we call financial management. Why do we even borrow in the first place? We borrow because the resources available to us are not enough to be able to fund a particular idea or a business plan. Yes, when there is scarcity, or we do not have what we really need, or what we call in business equity. When you don't have enough equity to be able to progress or process a particular plan, then you should borrow. But beyond that, something that came up was, even in the midst of money, is it possible to borrow? Is it necessary to borrow? And I dare say yes, it is okay to borrow even when you are in sufficiency. Now, don't forget, there are three stages or three cycles. It's either during scarcity, during sufficiency, or during surplus. Now, you may not need to borrow when your economy is surplus. But in the period of scarcity and sufficiency, oh yes, I, Festus or DJ Rewele, will advise to borrow even when you have enough money. And I will tell you a short story that supports my argument, and I hope you appreciate it. Now, as a regional head in Diamond Bank then, I had a customer that had 1.5 million US dollar in his account, and this money was unencumbered. He was one of the big time contractors with the IOCs, and so he got a new job, and he came to me. In fact, he called me in the night. He said, when you close, please come home. And I went to his house, and when we got talking, he said, I will need a 500 million naira loan. I don't know how soon I will need to liquidate what I have. And he was going to liquidate his foreign currency. And I looked at it and I said, sir, you may not need to liquidate from the $1.5 million you have. He said, but I don't need loan. I don't want to borrow. I just want to use my money. Since I have it, what's the need borrowing? And I said, no, you won't make as much gain as I intend that you should. And it didn't make sense to him at first. But because he had been with me for some time, over a period of 10 years, he could trust my judgment. And as bankers, I always tell bankers that part of your duty is to become a financial advisor to your customers. And so after the much I spoke with him, I told him, I said, we're going to do a cash conversion, cash cover. And we used the $1.5 million and we did an OD, an overdraft for him, and he was able to access 500 million, even though what he eventually used out of it was 3 million. Now, listen to this. At the time that this transaction was going on, dollar exchange rate was at 238 naira to a dollar. 238 naira to a dollar. And I had looked at the indices and the way the economy was progressing. And I told him, I said, I do not see the dollar coming down. At the time you will need this foreign currency, it may be hitting 240, 250, if not even 260. And he said, no problem, but if I make any loss, I won't forgive you. And I told him, sir, you won't. And we went ahead and we did that transaction. It was 6 months. And by the time we did the cost-benefit analysis, borrowing 500 million, utilizing only 300 million, of course, he was able to pay back within a short time, and then liquidated from the payment that he got from his contract employers, and his dollar wasn't still in place. Now, the amount of interest that my client paid within that period was less than 30% of what he was getting, because the dollar had moved from 238 to about 255 to a dollar. And he called back several times to say thank you. And so in that kind of scenario, it is good to borrow even in the midst of surplus, but you need to have a financial management knowledge. If you cannot do a simple cash flow, which the bank would always, hinge their borrowing a formula on, if there is no cash flow to support that this business can pay back, the bank in the first place won't even give you money. There is no need for you to even borrow money from anyone, because it has to do with cash flow. Every transaction that you are going into as a business owner, do a cash flow analysis, do a cost benefit analysis, and check with all the indices that have been fully put in place whether it will make sense to borrow or not. I always hear some consultants or some motivational speakers say, don't ever borrow. Make sure you don't borrow. Ensure you don't borrow to start a business. No, it's not so. You just have to carry out the financial management analysis, and that's talking about cash flow. How does it add or remove from the bottom line? And if that is fully done, fully sensitized, and you are sure that all the indices are in place and it comes out positive for you, please go ahead and borrow. And I'm sure when you borrow, you would have been borrowing right. So this is what I have to say. Is it okay to borrow? Yes. But there is a requirement. Financial management, you need to understand how it works. And when you know how it works, your decision will come out clean and you wouldn't have any problem. My name is Festus Ojije. I'm a business coach and a consultant. But there is one principle that you need to have or know, and that's the principle of having a sound financial knowledge about the decisions that you are going to take. If it pans out well, please go ahead and borrow. If you are borrowing for production, not for consumption, like my new aspirant for the PDP, Peter Obi, will say. When you borrow for production, not for consumption. And when you check your cash flow and it works out well to your benefit, please hurry, borrow, and I'm sure you will come out good. Thank you, and do have a blessed day.